So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, hey, you missed the Sunday when we recognize mothers and nurturers and the relationships that we have with our mothers and our children. We sat there in the midst of the celebration and the struggle, the grieving and the obligation, the frustration, the joy, all of those things that come when we dare to talk about those people who give us life and live our lives with us. So we spent some time today because it's Mother's Day, and it was a nice thing to do. It was a good thing. We had some great music. The choir sang Haydn and the Creation, and oh my goodness, it was so good. And we celebrated the Ascension. And that's that story in Luke's Gospel, and it's only in Luke's Gospel. And it's pretty much sort of, if Luke's Gospel is a musical, this is the grand finale. Now we start the last act at the crucifixion, and we end with the Ascension, the rising of Jesus up into heaven. What a great story! What a great celebration! This used to be the primary celebration of the church back in Augustine's time, the Ascension. And so we wondered about it today. Wondered about why Luke has it, nobody else does. Wondered about whether it makes Jesus seem more like Superman, up and away. And we recognize that Jesus is the opposite of Superman. He doesn't pretend to be human. He is human. He is indeed of this world. And this last act of this musical invites us to a place that we know well, although it's told dramatically with great dialogue and emotion. The truth is, most of us live somewhere between crucifixion and ascension, between struggle and glory. That is where we live. We move back and forth between struggle and glory, and that's the point. We live there, and so does God, with us, because of us, in Jesus, but also just in God's intention and love. God lives with us between struggle and glory. We talked about that. We wondered what this ascension could mean to us, not as a piece of historical fact worthy of debate, but what does it mean when we recognize that God lives with us between struggle and glory, and that in that moment of glory, Jesus ascends with his body. It's the body of Jesus that ascends, the body that was unrecognizable after the resurrection, the body that bears the scars and the pain of the crucifixion, the body that held people and broke bread and laughed. That body ascends to heaven, not left behind, all used up now and done with. There's a statement I think that Luke is making about our humanity and how our humanity is fit for the divine, that we don't have to cast it off. We don't cast off our humanity to be closer to God. We embrace our humanity, and in the embracing of our humanity, in embracing our vulnerability and our brokenness, stories of the crucifixion, we find ourselves elevated to God. We discover the divine, not in denying our humanity, not in running away from it, but in embracing it. In that we are lifted. At least I think that's what Luke is trying to say. It might be easier if there were dancers in an orchestra, because it is a musical. But trust me, it's a big finish. So that's what we talked about today. We wondered about this musical, about the great big ending and what it might mean to us. And at the very least, I believe that it's a story about embracing our humanity, about bonding with each other through vulnerability and struggle, and recognizing that those bonds are what is most important. At least that's some of what we did today. So I hope you take a little time to consider your humanity, your mortality, and recognize that you are not limited by your humanity. In fact, you are inspired and invited into greatness because of your humanity, your ability to love. That's what we talked about today. That's what I hope you talk about this week. And I hope it's what brings you back to see us soon, because it really is better when you're here. Until we see you again, God bless.